What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another late night news, late night Manchester United news. There is plenty to get into, plenty to discuss this evening. As I always say, the second part of the press conference is always the best part. The embargoed part always offers up the best questions, the best responses. You get the sort of frilly, sort of boring stuff out of the way earlier on in the day. My goodness me, if you haven't watched the second part of today's press conference, I recommend giving it a watch. We always say that sometimes Ten Hag press conferences, they can be a bit dull, they can be a bit nondescript, not so much going on, not many news stories coming out, just a kind of team news, all that kind of stuff. Hey, this evening, or earlier today, in the embargo part of the press conference, Erik Ten Hag got a little bit prickly with some of the questions, and some of the journalists really started to probe, particularly on Andre Onana. If you've got a bit of Andre Onana discussion fatigue, then maybe this press conference won't be for you, but Erik Ten Hag really was not putting up with some of the questions that was being asked, just in general, actually, in the press conference, not only about Andre Onana, but also about Marcus Rashford as well. It was a very interesting one, to say the least, certainly. So smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. How are we all feeling? Let me know where you're watching from. As always, late night United news. It's an international global show because we're up very, very late on a Friday night. But depending on where you are in the world, it might be the morning, it might be the afternoon, it might be wherever you are. So let me know indeed where you're watching from and how you're feeling ahead of tomorrow. A reminder, before we get into the press conference, as people start to file in, a match preview went up earlier this evening with Flex and Matty Renton previewing the game at St James's Park tomorrow. Obviously tomorrow is match day, so you've got your match view, road trip, fan views, player ratings, full-time views. Basically, any show you can think of, it's on the sidebar there, right-hand side of the screen. If you're ever worried or you're ever unsure about timings and about what shows are coming up, what's on the schedule, just check the right-hand side. Look, match preview out tonight, 6 p.m. It should actually say out now. Ignore that. It's late. We're using the chat here at the moment as well. Berserker says, the drama of the press conference, Erik Ten Hag. You like that? Rail says, love the Xmas intro. Yes, as always, shout out Josh Media, Graphics Guru, Visual Ninja. He has created, once again, a masterpiece. It's one of my favorite things that we do on the channel, is that the intro changes and evolves depending on the season, depending on the special date. There's Halloween ones, there's Christmas ones, there's tour ones, there's Champions League ones, there's Flex and KG ones, there's Morning View ones. It's just something different, isn't it? It's something different every single time, and it's fun. You gotta have a bit of fun, don't you? So it's one of my favorite things that we do. Berserker's also in Australia. Good morning. There you go. Berserker all the way down under. Stay Woke says New York. Chris says it's boring old Peterborough. Nothing boring about Peterborough, mate. Nothing wrong with that. Peter says Rochester. We've got Namibia in the chat. It's 52 minutes past midnight. There you go. Look at that. So let's get into the press conference. This is what you're here for. And we've also actually, it's not just with Late Night United News. It's not always just the press conference, the embargoed part of the press conference as well. We've got some other stories that I do want to get into this evening. I want to talk about this Jim Ratcliffe sign that's appeared near Old Trafford saying welcome to Manchester. Yes, that's a thing. And also a story about raw chicken and Manchester United. Oh, and what you're talking about? Well, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Raw chicken and Manchester United is a thing, is a story, and it's an interesting one, to say the least. Well, I say interesting, it's just kind of par for the course of Manchester United, isn't it? Anyway, let's get into this press conference, because again, it was very, very interesting. First part was one of these sort of fluffy questions saying to Erik Ten Hag, do you think you're getting excitement into United with the goals you've been scoring recently and the way of play? Erik Ten Hag said, I think definitely the goals we scored lately, Copenhagen and Everton and in Istanbul, great team goals, having a good plan, creativity. We scored some great goals. And look, can't deny that. We have scored quite a few goals recently, and they have been good goals. Garnacho's goal was obviously brilliant, bit of individual brilliance. But I thought actually, I really like the Martial goal against Everton. You know, the little Palestri gives it to Bruno, pass through the middle, dink over the goalkeeper. Beautiful goal. Fantastic. You got Garnacho's goal against Galatasaray, roof of the net, brilliant finish. Bruno's goal as well against Galatasaray, a rocket. Even the goal for the third, the third goal with Wan-Bissaka putting the ball across the goal, McTominay tap it in. We have been scoring some pretty decent goals recently, but that's by the by. Next question was about Donny van de Beek. Now, people can accuse me of having the Donny van de agenda and all this kind of stuff, but Ten Hag was asked. Donny said last week that he was considering leaving. Will you allow him to leave? And Erik ten Hag said, quote, I think Donny has to play. In the games, he was in the squad, so then he had the opportunity, but it was a slow start in the season because he still recovered from physical setbacks. But now he is back and doing well in training, so if we can't give him perspective, I can see that he has to play for his career, for everything. Basically, I mean, maybe that quote doesn't really do it justice for what he was kind of implying, and this is why it's important not only to listen to the quotes, but it's also important to actually watch how a manager says something, because sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And certainly the indication I got watching what Erik ten Hag was saying there is like he should have gone in the summer. And I think the expectation was that Donny van de Beek was going to go in the summer. He was linked to all of these different clubs, didn't really participate on pre-season, did he? And the thought process was he was going to go. I think he was linked to, was it Luton, Lorient, maybe a couple other clubs. Didn't happen for whatever reason. And because of that, it's kind of a case of, well, then you're not in the plan, so you're not going to play. And it's not a case of like a Harry Maguire or a Scott McTominay whereby, well, if the right offer came in the summer, and it nearly did, we were going to sell them like Donny. But if we keep them, they are going to play somewhat of a role because they played games last season. Donny didn't play that much last season. I don't understand that he was injured, and obviously that was a big setback for him coming into this season. But even before the injury, wasn't playing that much. He's never played that much for Manchester United, right? So that's why I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit for when those quotes came out last week. You know, I've got to play and I'm going to consider leaving in January. Well, I think the options were there in the summer, and you know, a career in football can go very, very quickly. If you don't make the most of it, if you don't utilize it, and you just stand still for a while, life tends to, you know, pass you by, and so can a football career. So I agree with what Erik ten Hag said. He needs to go and needs to play for the sake of his career, needs to play for the sake of his international career. And I think he would be one of those names you would be expecting to leave in January. Could that raise funds? You never know. Hopefully. I don't see the benefit really of a loan deal in January, because he would just come back in the summer and then we have the conversation again about him leaving on a permanent. Maybe some clubs can't afford him on a permanent. I don't know. I don't think we're going to get a ton of money because we didn't really pay that much for him in the first place, did we? How much did we pay for him? Was it like 40? Something like that. How much did Man United pay for Donny van de Beek transfer fee? £35 million. So what would we get for him? At this point, after, and that's like 3 years ago, nearly 4. How much do we get for Donny van de Beek in 2024? 15, maybe? He's an international player. He's played in Champions League semi-finals. Maybe a push 15, maybe 10, something like that. I mean, it all counts, and like, hey, that's enough to bring in someone, not of huge quality. That's enough to bring in someone, or maybe do like an expensive loan or something like that. I don't know, but he needs to go certainly in January, and that's, you know me, that's kind of been my thought process for the last 18 months or so with him. It's just not worked out. This was an interesting one, and this was the beginning of when Erik ten Hag was starting to get a little bit prickly, because what Erik ten Hag doesn't like is people telling him that he said something that he believes he didn't say, because he has done this quite a few times. So the question was put to him. I believe it was Samuel Luckhurst. I do recall the journalist in this situation. And he said, the game tomorrow, you said that last season that Newcastle could be annoying with time wasting. Is there any change in that? Straight away, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I made the point about time wasting, but when I said annoying, that was a positive for them. in the case of they're a difficult team to play and they're a difficult team to play against. I meant that in a positive way. I respect them. They are physical, very good transition. They are doing a great job there. I said that earlier. So Ten Hag pushing back already to Samuel Luckhurst going, didn't say that. Now, I remember covering the press conference at the time when he did that press conference and he said the word annoying straight away. You should have seen it. Piranhas round chum in that room, and it was the same today with Andre Onana. The moment that Erik ten Hag lost his cool for a second, straight away. Vultures. I mean, the claws were out. Think of any kind of vicious animal you can think of. They pounced on him in that room straight away. Boom, 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 boom. And they did it last time when he said that about Newcastle. He said it can be very annoying to play against. What do you mean annoying? What do you annoying? Annoying? You can literally, you know when you can hear people typing, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? Every time. And then, that was ages ago. That was like nearly a year ago. Already, annoying, said annoying, bring annoying back again. What do you mean by that? I'd just be like, if I was a manager, this is why I couldn't handle it. Because if I said that, and it's horrible having your words twisted and manipulated, isn't it? So you say annoying, and it's, bear in mind too, like, his English is much, much better than when he first arrived at Manchester United, but it's still not his native tongue, as it were, right? So when you say these words, and then you got, actual English, what do you mean? You're like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get through this press conference. But they brought it back, and Ten Hag shot that down. But this is when we get into the juicy stuff, guys. The juicy stuff, because Erik ten Hag was asked, Erik, you've made some big selection calls in your time as Manchester United manager. Ronaldo, De Gea, Sancho, and others. Varane. Onana, though, you've stuck by him. Why is that? This was genuinely the question that was asked. Do you have a blind spot with him, or does he deserve that loyalty? And when they asked that question about, do you have a blind spot with Andre Onana, I went, that's a bit harsh. Basically, are you unaware of how shit he is? It's basically what they're trying to say. Can you not see that he's making mistakes? Can you not see that? Can you? Have you got a blind spot? Is he your friend? I was like, a blind spot. I was like, whoa, that's a bit of a push, isn't it? Or does he deserve that loyalty? And Erik ten Hag said, players deserve trust. I just explained he is after Alisson in terms of the Premier League and those stats we mentioned earlier on today. In this moment, he is the best stopper in the league from preventing expected goals. So then you deserve to play. What do we think of that? I mentioned this earlier. My opinion hasn't really changed that much on this. I'm of the opinion, and I know this because I do this, because everyone does this, that when you bring statistics in, it's because you're trying to make a point, but also it's because you're feeling you're having to prove it. Like the actions of the person or the actions of the individual, the actions of the player don't speak loud enough. So you've got to bring up numbers to back it up, right? You've got to bring up numbers to be like, see, I told you. Once you start going into the territory of he's preventing expected goals, so you deserve to play. Well, statistics, as I always say, can tell any story or any narrative you want them to. You can bring up statistics for why David De Gea should have got a new contract, maybe even a raise last season. You could also bring up the statistics as to why he had to leave and he was a detriment to Manchester United this season. I say you could because people did last season. Because they pointed out Golden Gloves. They pointed out that he's bottom in other categories and all that kind of stuff. That's what stats are. There are so many of them that you can always pick and choose them. You look at the Arsenal situation with David Raya and Ramsdale at the moment. They'll show you that in all of these statistics and all of these categories, David Raya is ahead of Aaron Ramsdale. And they'll go, see, that's why he's better. But then as a fan sometimes, you can watch, or as just a viewer, you can watch a game and go, I know all these statistics are there, but I'm not seeing that. So look, he's backing his player. Now, this is one of those situations because he's saying, well, at the moment, statistically, in terms of preventing expected goals, he's the second in the league. But I think you and I, the viewer, me, sitting here in this chair, screaming in my flat, and past 11 o'clock on a Friday night, can say, Andre Onana right now is not the second best goalkeeper in the Premier League. Like, he's just not. Why? Because more goes into it than statistics. Now, that's not me saying that Andre Onana is terrible, he's rubbish, and he's not going to make it at Manchester United. Time will only tell with that. But you have to see it for what it is with what Erik ten Hag is doing there, right? Which is, he's backing his player. He's seen a statistic that he likes, that he feels like makes his point, so he's going with it. He hopes tomorrow he's going to have a good game. If he doesn't, and maybe that stat goes away, got to find another stat. Because he ain't going to drop him. Because he's not going to bring in Bayern Deer. And I know he was asked about people being undroppable later on, but he's just not going to... He's not going to drop him. It's just, that is what it is. That's not what he's going to do. A couple of super chats here. But I mean, I would do a poll, but there is no point when he says he's the second best goalkeeper after Alisson in the league. Statistically, is Onana the second best goalkeeper in the Premier League at the moment? The answer would be no. Recent form, he's done very, very well in the Prem, not in the Champions League. In the Prem, he's done all right. Clean sheets, saves, credit to him for that. But yeah, that's why you go statistics and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit difficult. My style advisor says, big up late stream, Owen. Thanks for the content. Thank you for staying up and watching, and thank you for the contribution as well. Amanor says, Owen, Onana and Anthony will get Erik ten Hag sacked. Facts. I don't know if it'll be them specifically. It might be Erik ten Hag himself. You could argue to be honest, if Erik ten Hag gets sacked at any point, I don't know if it's on any one individual player or any couple of individual players. It would be on the manager for continuing to pick them, right? I mean, they are two of his signings. So if they were two that had high responsibility, ultimately the buck would stop with him, right? He signed off on them. He picks them most often than not. If they don't perform or they don't pan out, you can blame them for the performances. But at the same time, you can also, like we always say, it's the definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again and expecting different results. That eventually it would be on him. And when it comes to Anthony recently, he's pulled him out of the side, hasn't he? You know, he's pulled him out of the side for that very reason. That he's not been playing very well, which we'll get to later on because a good question was asked about Marcus Rashford as well. So that was the first bit about, you know, the stats and Andre Onana. And this was, again, a proper shit-stirring question. Like, proper. Bear in mind, the first question is, do you have a blind spot with Andre Onana? The next one was, but it was noticeable in Galatasaray in Istanbul. No players came over to him after the game. Can you understand if players have lost confidence in him or will lose confidence in him? And I was, again, watching it going... I was like, I mean, I'll probably find the Gary Neville thing. Literally, he said that. I went, ooh. I mean, what a question that is to ask in a press conference to Man United manager. Do you think your players have lost confidence in the person? Why did no one come over to him? Now, it was pointed out that Bayern Deer did come over to him after the game on the pitch. But that's on the pitch, in fairness. You could argue that, does it need to be public displays of affection or anything like that out on the pitch? Do we know what happened behind closed doors? Did they all get into the dressing room and not talk to him, not pat him on the back, not say, oh, mate, it's shit, buck your ideas up, but don't worry, we've got you. So I thought that's a very nasty question, that one. But Ten Hag, you could tell at this point, was immediately starting to get, He said no, in terms of the players losing confidence in him. That will not happen. Football is a game of mistakes. As a team, we have to cover that, not just in goal as well. And then we get into Jamie Jackson, where he had a back and forth with Erik ten Hag this evening. Jamie Jackson had a back and forth because he can be very direct with his questions that he asks in these press conferences. He'll be like, you know, Eric, if you lose the next game, is that your season over? You're very like, you go, whoa, that's very matter of fact. Eric, do you feel like if you don't score tomorrow, your team will never score again this season? Eric, you know? And then at one point, Ten Hag went to answer the question and he cut him off and he started chatting again. It was, honestly, you got to watch it. So he started off by saying, you agree, you said it, he's been poor in the Champions League. And Ten Hag cut him off and went, no, I didn't say that. I mentioned earlier on, he doesn't like people telling him he said things that he doesn't think he said. So he said, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. He goes, well, you said he made mistakes. He goes, yes, I did say that. And then, so it's already getting, the atmosphere is elevating at that point. And they go, so when it comes to the next Champions League game, would you be brave enough? He's questioning the bravery of the Manchester United manager. Would you be brave enough to drop him for the next Champions League game? Ten Hag goes, no. No. So I don't have to go, I'm not brave enough, I'm going, I'm not going to drop him. I think probably the latter. I'm not dropping him. No. Stop with your question. And he said, it's obvious he has the potential. And that's what he kept saying. He has the potential. And as he's saying this answer, this again, I'm doing my very best to paint a picture here, but this is genuinely what happened. So as he's saying, it's obvious he has that potential, Jamie Jackson cuts him off. Going, yeah, but it might help him, Eric. It might help him. And Ten Hag goes, no, it won't help him. It won't help him. No, it won't help him. I have trust in Tom and Bayindia, but I said it before, I'll say it again. After Alisson, he prevented the most expected goals in the whole league. The Champions League, he has so much experience. After Neuer and Courtois last year, he was the best keeper. We have to work on him. He has potential, but that comes with the manager, the coaches, and the players. They all support him. And I went, whoa, this is a pretty heated press conference, to say the least. So firm backing of Andre Onana from Erik ten Hag there. Firm belief in his potential. Firm, I guess, display of the stats. Firm display of his past and his past accomplishments and achievements. And he's got strong belief that Andre Onana is going to work out. Now, we've mentioned on the full view quite a few times, haven't we? I know Kenny has pointed this out when he says that his concern about Erik ten Hag is that he may die on his sword when it comes to certain players and certain individuals. And I think Andre Onana might be that one. People have spoken about Anthony. People are talking about other players and all that kind of stuff. The way that he was talking about Andre Onana in this press conference, particularly this embargoed part, is this is his guy. And he is backing him to the hill. Now, he didn't go completely, in the direction of, I'm never ever going to drop him, because the follow-up question to that was, is he undroppable? And Ten Hag said, no, of course not. No one is undroppable. That is also clear. We believe, and we have a strong belief, that he will help us win trophies. That's what he's saying. Not win games, win trophies. With Andre Onana between the sticks, we will win trophies. That is what he is saying right there. But nobody's undroppable. Which I guess he has shown in the past. Nobody's undroppable. Even though we think that's the case, maybe there are certain players that haven't been dropped. Bruno, Rashford. But to him, he says nobody's undroppable. But at the same time, he's saying, I'm not dropping Andre Onana. It's not happening. And really from that point onwards, Erik ten Hag, you could tell, when you're in a room of people, it's like being in a meeting at work. You're in one of those meeting rooms and it's 10 minutes left. Maybe a lot's happened in it. Maybe some co-workers have gone back and forth with some ideas. You don't know what you're talking about. No, I know what I'm talking about. Your idea's rubbish. You're not listening to me, this, that, and the other. And you look at your watch and you go, we've still got 10 minutes left. And you can feel it in the room. Everyone here wants to be out. Everyone here wants this to be over at this point. And that's kind of what it felt like at that point in time. Because the next bit was, but you talk about, obviously, the mistakes that he has made, but he was involved in the first goal with a pass when it came to Alejandro Garnacho's goal in Turkey. Do you accept that he's just going to make mistakes and you have to balance this against his positive attributes? And Ten Hag said, no, you don't accept that. He has the potential, he has the abilities, he has all elements of football. He gives you something extra in and out of possession, clear, but you don't accept that. So he's not basically saying, and I guess that goes back to like the blind spot that was asked earlier, right? Is that, does he have a blind spot of Andre Onana? I don't think he does. I don't think Erik ten Hag's living in delusion about, I don't think Erik ten Hag's living in delusion of coming out of these games going, yeah, Onana's great. He's done great. That would be a complete blind spot. If he came out of, Wednesday's game, and whatever he says to the media is what he says to the media, but if he truly believed that Wednesday's result had nothing to do with Andre Onana, now that's a blind spot. But of course he knows. Everyone knows that we didn't win that game because of Andre Onana. Granted, we could have and should have still won the game with the chances we had, but still, a big point of it was on Andre Onana. Clearly, that's the case. But yes, I don't know if he has a blind spot on him. But I guess that goes back to favourites, right? What's the difference between having a blind spot on certain players and having favourites for the other? It's essentially the same thing, which is the thing that's been a criticism that's been thrown at him. Now, this was another prickly response from Ten Hag, who said a question was put to him. Garnacho has played so well on the left in the last couple of games. Goals against Everton, goal against Galatasaray as well. Where does that leave Marcus at the moment? You're going to struggle to get him into the side. And Ten Hag went, you didn't see our games. And then a pause, silence. You didn't see our games. We play against Copenhagen, they're both in the team. We play against Everton, they are both in the team. So now Rashford was suspended. And I thought, oh, he's not taking any prisoners. Now, basically going, and you know what? It's an interesting question, because it was a question that I brought up earlier on today going, you can't drop Alejandro Garnacho at the moment. You can't. You score goal of the season against Everton at Goodison Park, opening goal of the game away from home, critical goal. Then, a few days later, in an even more hostile atmosphere, you score the first goal away at Galatasaray. Brilliant finish, roof of the net. You can't drop him. You can't. So tomorrow, Garnacho will start. But it's not necessarily a case of, oh, how does that fit Rashford in? Because he's right. He played games. The same game that Garnacho scored that great goal, Rashford played. Scored a penalty. So, yeah, I don't think there's any issue at this point of being like, oh, how do we get Garnacho and Rashford in the same side? We have seen that. We've seen that they get in the same side. I think the question I had coming into tomorrow's game and coming out of the game against Galatasaray in the week was that actually Anthony did all right. He did pretty well in that game, right? Some could say he, this soundboard is so annoying. It got updated and now it gets longer. So against Galatasaray, he
done okay.
Was a bit slow. I'll press it again as well.
Done okay.
I'll press some other sounds actually. He was literally in the press conference, Ten Hag, being like,
what is going on here?
And by the end of it, he was quite literally,
go fuck yourself.
And then walked out of the press conference. That didn't actually happen, but he might as well have. So yeah, my biggest question was when it came to the game tomorrow was that with Rashford still scoring against Everton, but Anthony playing against Galatasaray and doing well, what would Ten Hag want to do? Would he be worried that? Would he think, oh, actually, we look quite dangerous against Galatasaray, I'll keep the front three the way they are? Or will he just think, look, Rashi's Rashi, he scored a penalty, he had a bit of a break because he was suspended, I'm going to put him back in. But I don't think the conversation's ever been, how'd you get Garnacho and Rashford into the same side? As he mentioned, they've done it in recent games. But the follow-up question to that was, but is it difficult to get them at their best if, Rashford's on the right when he prefers to play on the left? And Ten Hag said Rashi can play from the right and he likes to play from the right, but he can also play through the middle and also from the left. So he is really multifunctional. And you know what's funny with Marcus Rashford this season? Because he's been really poor, we mentioned this, when he plays on the right, because he's somewhat limited with what he can do, it actually makes him play a bit better. Because he's not, if he's on the left, he's cutting inside, he's trying to go past players all the time, unnecessarily so. I don't mind players trying to take people on or anything like that. But I just mean, when you don't need to. Blind alleys, running down, trying to go past one, go past another. By the end, he's trying to go past four people and score a world-class goal every single time. On the right-hand side, he can't do that. He can't do that all the time. He's forced to play it a bit more simplistic and play it a bit more simple, which actually does benefit him. And because he's right-footed, it forces him just to literally go around the outside, put a ball into the box, try and find Højlund, which again isn't the worst thing in the world for him. But on the flip side, despite him scoring a goal against Everton last weekend, I thought he really struggled in that game. And that's why I said I was interested, because I think Anthony played better on Wednesday than Rashford did last Sunday. Difference is Rashford scored the penalty, and also Rashford tends to play. Rashford tends to play whatever game he's available for, right? Finally, there's two more questions rather. One was about VAR, which how long have we got? But Ten Hag was asked, Newcastle, they got a questionable VAR call on Tuesday. What was one thing you'd like to see changed about VAR? And Ten Hag just went, clear and obvious. That's the criteria. Which, to be honest, is something that I think it was Neil Warnock pointed out, saying that they should put a stop clock on VAR. So basically, if they're checking things, they have something like, I think Neil Warnock said 2 minutes or 3 minutes, maybe something like that. And it was the idea that if you can't figure out after 3 minutes if something's offside or if something's a foul or if it's a penalty or it's a handball, then it's not clear and obvious and you just got to move on. What I did like about the game against Galatasaray in the week, that Icardi goal that was ruled as an offside, that was so fast, wasn't it? So quickly, goal, and then literally the referees went, a minute, and it was like, what was it, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that? And it was just, boom, offside. Okay, hand in the air, offside, carry on. And we saw the graphic later on, but it was so quick, there was no real ambiguity. They showed up the little graphic, the 3D imagery, and you go, great, he was offside. It was very close. I mean, you can get into the territory of maybe that's why the offside rule needs to change, and the law needs to change, and the daylight rule and all that kind of stuff. But as far as enforcing that rule, not taking forever, not having subjective offside or whatever, it's like goal line technology. It's offside or it's a goal, done. That's how quickly you want it, really. And I'm at the mindset now when it comes to VAR, where I'm just like, if you can put that system in place, the semi-automated offside in place, into the Premier League, scrap all the other stuff, scrap handballs, scrap, the penalties and the dangerous tackles, all that kind of stuff. Just do the semi-automated offsides. And until you can get better at using the technology, don't bother. Because they can't use it. They cannot do it. But at the same time, you still get worried because, for instance, if there wasn't VAR, against Everton last weekend, Anthony Martial would have been booked for diving. And that wasn't a dive. It was a penalty. And thankfully, VAR came in our favour. So it's not... For me, it's not even a technology problem. It's a refereeing problem. Referees aren't good on the pitch, but also they're not good at Stockley Park or wherever they're using that technology. They can't use the technology and they can't figure it out on the pitch either. Referees, I don't know if it's just a Premier League thing, but I mean, we saw it in the Champions League, I suppose, this week with that Newcastle decision. So I guess it's a wider football thing. Maybe we just see it more often in the Premier League. But the referees in the Premier League, objectively, are shit. They are rubbish. And this isn't a new thing. And a couple of times when I've been saying it over the last few years, I kind of have to catch myself because I'm going, am I being that guy? When you're younger and you see people that are older than you, maybe your parents or your grandparents, and everything's always better in the past. Back in my day, it was so much better. Back in my day, referees were so much better. Back in my day, this was better. Back in my day, we never had this problem. And then you find yourself as you get older, you say the same thing. And you actually, everyone just has rose-tinted glasses on. They think it's always better in the past, whereas in actuality, it was roughly the same. But with referees, it's true. Refereeing has been on a steady decline in the Premier League for the better part of a decade. And at this point, it's just catastrophically out of control. They're just bad. They're just awful. You have situations where referees as well, they make poor decisions. What was his name? Is it Anthony Taylor? Is that his name? The guy that made the poor decision in the Premier League, went down to the Championship and made an even worse. He made an even worse penalty decision. I think it was a Preston game. Made an even worse decision. He got the Chelsea City game the next weekend. What kind of punishment did he get? Nothing. Oh, we know you screwed up that one. Optics will send you down to the Championship. We know you made a mistake in that game, proving that you're not even good enough to referee in the Championship, and we'll have you do one of the biggest games of the weekend in the Premier League. How on earth? How on earth can that work? It's just terrible. And don't get me wrong, all for respecting officials, all for respecting the authority. They've got a lot of pressure on them. I get that. I understand that. But when you make mistakes, and also when you've got the opportunity, you've got technology there to bail you out I screwed up on the pitch, but there is another camera angle. I get a second bite at it, and I still get it wrong. That is madness. Absolute madness how that can work. And I'm done with the freeze framing as well. I'm done with the freeze framing of literally just taking a snapshot, bang. So if someone's foot is on someone's ankle, that's a red card or that's a foul, even though you take away any context from it at all. Like, who even knows what that tackle actually looked like in real time? Or if in the freeze frame there is no contact, then that's definitely not a red card because, it can't be a dangerous tackle. But if you watch it in real time, you go, that's really dangerous. Really, really dangerous. So it's just... and this is a super chat here from United asked about this. And we spoke about this the other morning. Thoughts on the sin bin rule potentially coming in. I've been an advocate for the sin bin. I mentioned this, I think I mentioned it like 18 months ago or something like that, saying I'm an advocate for the sin bin because I think tactical fouls do ruin football matches. They really, really do. And I think that with particularly bigger teams, like for instance, Man City are a great example of this. When you've got a team like Man City, Barcelona used to be the same, and I think it's a Pep thing. But you've got teams that dominate the game, dominate the ball. And as an opposition team, all you can do is sit back, try and soak up pressure, defend the best as you can, and you're going to maybe have 2 or 3 occasions in a match where you get the ball back and you've got an opportunity. You can go up the pitch. They're a bit more vulnerable. They've committed players forward. It's your only chance to try and go get a goal. And you're on the counter-attack, and a Guardiola player, boom, pulls you down in the middle of the pitch. Cynical foul. Booking yellow card. From the resulting free kick, they probably get the ball back. They've got possession back, and all they've got is a yellow. That doesn't seem particularly fair, does it? That kills the game. That kills momentum. And there needs to be a punishment more severe than a yellow card. However, this is my problem with it as well. For all of the same reasons that I've just mentioned about how referees can't referee games and how decisions they don't get right and how much there's extra scrutiny on decisions and they still get it wrong, I just worry that we're further diluting that decision process. So a player now, what we debating? Oh, he got a yellow, but it should have been a red. Oh, he got an orange, but it should have been a red. He got a red, but that's really an orange. Give him an orange for that one. Don't give him a yellow. Are we just further diluting it? Are we just further diluting it? And ultimately, when I talk about these referees that are completely inept because they show it on a weekly basis, and also with these referees that have zero consistency over major decisions, as Manchester United fans, we can absolutely attest to this with how many times we get a decision against us that is like a red card or a goal disallowed or whatever it may be, and then in a day later, a game later, a week later, a couple of weeks later, the complete opposite is given in the same scenario. Do we really trust these referees to be consistent with the sin bins throughout the season? I myself don't. And that worries me too. It's not even necessarily a lack of faith in the rule or the implementation of it in terms of it being a good idea, because I think hypothetically it could work. But at the same time, it'd be, like we sort of go, I tell you what, City get a lot of decisions here. I can't believe that. Or like Liverpool, for instance, great example. Liverpool, when they played Everton at Anfield, and Everton were down to 10 men. Ashley Young got sent off earlier on. It was Konate. Konate should have been sent off. He was on a booking. He did a cynical foul in the middle of the pitch. He didn't even get booked for it. And it was so bad that immediately Jurgen Klopp took him off. He knew that he got away with one and he took him off. Do we trust the referee in that situation would do anything different? Would he do a sin bin there? Or would he go, hey, one more and I'll give you a sin bin? Do we trust them? I don't. That's the problem. What does VAR do with a sin bin? Are they looking at things going, actually, that was it was a yellow card, but wait a minute, I recommend you go and have a look at that. That should actually not be a yellow card. That should be an orange card. Are we just further diluting the process? That's my concern about it. And can we even apply it properly? I don't know. I'm not sure. Berserker says only using English refs. This is also dumb. They also grow up with extreme bias to teams. Not even necessarily that. I just think I think it's really strange that we've got a league filled with what we proudly say are the best players and coaches from around the world. We've had all of these players in our league. We've got the best players in the world. We've got the best managers in the world. What about our referees? No, they're all from the UK. You know. Why wouldn't we just go into every other country and go, who's your best ref? Let's give them a ton of money and make them come over to the Premier League. Why not? Why not? You know? And if you're worried about them, about supporting teams or whatever, then just do what you do with these referees in England. Make sure they don't support the teams. So, I don't know. The sin bin one, it'll be interesting to watch, certainly. Final question in the press conference was about Andre Onana going to AFCON. Ten Hag was asked, is Andre going to AFCON? Ten Hag said, so when they call him, he has to go, but we are in talks. So he didn't really confirm or deny, to be honest with you. Didn't confirm or deny that he could or he may or may not be going. So watch that one with some interest. It was Samuel Luckhurst the other day saying that Onana was concerned, wasn't he? That if he went to AFCON, he would lose his spot as the Manchester United number one. Maybe he would. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But that certainly was very interesting there as well. A couple of other things I did want to talk about just very quickly. One was this weird sign that appeared near Old Trafford. It was a poster. It was a poster of Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying, welcome to Manchester. It was the Manchester Evening News that reported this. Now, who put this up, we don't know. We don't know if it's just people that, I don't know, are Man United fans. We don't know if it's people that like Sir Jim Ratcliffe. We don't know if it's like a thing that Ineos and United are doing as part of the plan for an announcement whenever that's coming. I mean, hey, it's been a few weeks since they said it was going to be next week and we still got nothing at the moment. So I don't know what that is. As is always the case with social media and life, it's already been sort of defaced with people writing on it, you know, full sale only, Glazers out, etc., etc. So I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Nevertheless, get any more information on that, we'll let you know. And also, it wouldn't be a bit of late night news without some strange story. And the strange story comes from The Athletic. And the story is that Manchester United are being investigated by the Trafford Council. Now, get a load of this. Manchester United, this comes from The Athletic, Manchester United are under investigation by Trafford Council after several people alleged they became unwell after being served raw chicken during an event hosted at Old Trafford. United, who declined to comment, are also conducting an internal investigation after receiving complaints from guests who attended an event hosted at the club stadium in recent months. The precise nature of the event is not known. Symptoms of food poisoning can include diarrhea, fever, stomach cramps, nausea, and vomiting. Salmonella, an infection associated with raw chicken, can result in hospitalization. The investigations by the council and the club are expected to examine whether symptoms experienced by the guests were related to what they consumed on United's premises or whether other illnesses may have struck down the visitors. United's current food hygiene rating is listed on the government's website as a 5, very good, the highest grade achievable, but the incident involving raw chicken may place this rating under jeopardy. Old Trafford's annual Food Standards Agency inspection was scheduled for October 23rd, but the club's rating has not yet been updated for the calendar year 2023. The FSA is an independent government department that works to protect public health, with its ratings assessing the handling of food, how the food is stored and prepared, and the cleanliness of its facilities. Any businesses given low ratings by the local authority food safety officer must make urgent or major improvements to hygiene standards. If it's judged that there is an imminent risk to public health when food may be unsafe to eat, parts of a business could be stopped or closed down until it's safe to recommence. United draw substantial revenue from hosting events and providing hospitality, not at least on a match day, and any downgrading of the club's food hygiene rating would have a damaging development and may even mean United have to spend significantly on improving protocols. Restoring a rating can take a lengthy period of time and could also impact the hospitality rates the club can charge. United's battle to protect their hygiene rating comes just as Sir Jim Ratcliffe's major £1.3 billion investment is set to be confirmed in the coming weeks. Manchester United declined to comment on Friday evening when approached by The Athletic, while the Trafford Council has not responded by point of publication. I mean, the roof leaks were selling raw chicken. I mean, literally, their diarrhea, salmonella, and the response from the club.
Oh, sorry.
Quite literally, you know, a bite of chicken, raw, not like UV raw, not like Monday Night Raw, Old Trafford raw chicken.
It could have been killed.
I like the idea as well, where they're saying, you know, we have to investigate if it was any other illnesses. What? Everyone that went to Old Trafford and had the buffet is being sick. Maybe it's something going around. You know what I mean? It's just, it's the same thing of like, you know, when you get really, really drunk and you're next morning, you're being sick and you're hungover and you're going, I tell you what, something I ate last night didn't agree with me. And they go, I think it had maybe something to do with what you drank. No. Definitely, I think I ate something. It's just, honestly, I read that story today and I went, it's Man United. If we've got welcome to Manchester signs that we don't know, you know, where they've come from. People have literally got diarrhea. They don't know where it comes from. Old Trafford. And it's just the latest story, isn't it? I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, and I'm not trying to bail United out of it or anything like that, but I'm sure, to be honest, stuff like this like happens, like at other places, like other events, like mistakes happen or whatever. But serving raw chicken, getting a load of people sick, and it's just the latest in a Manchester United. I think there's been times, haven't there, at match days where, you know, there was one. I got a message from Cam. He was at a game, I forget when it was, and he was furious because none of the beer taps were working, and he was like, no one can get alcohol in the stadium, which some would say ain't the worst thing in the world, right? But Old Trafford, you could imagine, was quite furious. You know, there was a thing the other day about some people were attending the women's game, I think the women's Manchester Derby at Old Trafford, and the stadium, one part of the roof, concrete, fell and hit someone in the head. Right? It's just, I mean, literally, walking into Old Trafford, once you get out of it safely, you go,
It could have been killed.
Every single time. It could have been killed. That's what it is. But there you go. That's some late night United news for you guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Actually, I've got a super chat here before I wrap things up from VK. Big up to VK, long-time member, moderator here on the channel as well. There's actually, simply put, 2 referees for each half and keep it human, easier to adopt. So there you go. As I mentioned, guys, tomorrow we've got obviously full match day experience. We've got road trip, match view, fan views, player ratings, full-time view. You can have your say. You can call in after the game if indeed you are a member and have your say. And then, of course, Sunday we'll have Matchday Reloaded, the full view. And then another full week of Premier League fun. After Newcastle, it's Chelsea at home, Old Trafford in the week. I'm not even looking that far ahead. Just got to get through tomorrow first. So there you go. Remember, you can see it right there. The latest episode of UV Raw's out at the moment. So if you are a member, check that out. If you're not, you can become one. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat as well. Anyway, guys, have a great Friday night. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace.